the viewers, what are some actually like very concrete things that we can practice immediately?
So the first thing I would say is to think about what your next opportunity for leadership is. Right? So I've given examples from public figures, from private sector individuals, but it might be that you are thinking about an opportunity for leadership in your personal context, in your home. The first step is to think about what your next opportunity for leadership is. Has it been scheduled? A lot of countries are now, if they haven't already come out of a community quarantine, they are, as in the case of the Philippines, going to start coming out of this quarantine, right? And so there is opportunity there in terms of trying to figure out when your next points of leadership, right? Your next opportunities for leadership are. So identify them. And then start to think about, in your position of leadership and how you are as a communicator, what is the best medium for you to use? Perhaps you're already using, right, social media, or perhaps you have regular addresses with your constituents, or maybe you have regular meetings, right? Whether Zoom meetings or physical meetings if you're able to meet physically. Identify those opportunities and those venues that you can use to use your public narrative. Okay? The next three kind of concrete takeaways are to write or articulate. Maybe you're not a writer, you can do a video recording or an audio recording of your story. Start with your story of self. As John mentioned at the beginning, particularly for leaders, where we are being asked to shepherd people through uncertainty, and it can feel very destabilizing. Writing a story of self can help to ground you as you continue to do your leadership work. It can remind you why you were called to serve. Right? What is it that motivates you? And what is it that motivates you now in the context of this current challenge that we're facing? Write your story or stories of us. Who are the different us's that you want to reach? For some, it could be your board members. For some, it could be your leadership team. It might be your subordinates. For those who are in the public sector, right, it might be your constituents or nonprofit organizations. It could be your beneficiaries. Right? Identify the us's that you want to engage. And what are the common histories or the shared experiences that you already have? You have a shared history, and this might not be the first challenge or crisis that you have been through as a collective. What can you take from those experiences, those shared experiences, and the values that were instilled by those experiences to call people to action anew? And then write your story of now. What is it that you're asking people to do? This is where you have the marriage between your strategy and your narrative. By now, you've probably been thinking about what are the concrete steps, the small actions that you can take, for example, to ensure the health and safety and security of your workers. Or maybe it's a pivot to your business model. This is where you can communicate what you're going to ask people to do and why you're asking them to do it now. In Jacinda Ardern's speech, she also acknowledges that there may be losses as a result of this new path that they're going to pursue. It's okay to acknowledge those losses, particularly at a time like this. So once you've created these stories of self, of us, of now, the last perhaps takeaway is to practice. To practice, because this is, again, you be called upon to do through and you might be repeatedly called upon to bring people together and to continue to mobilize them to take action slowly. I could see the next slide, please. So no two stories are going to be alike. And I've given you different examples from different media, different personalities, in order to encourage you to use public narrative no matter where you're sitting within your leadership position. You can still create a public narrative that is staying authentic to your own voice, that demonstrates competence, that is direct and forthcoming. Again, acknowledging the losses and the gains. Right? We're operating in a context where there are going to be things that are lost. It might be life, right? It might be a loss of life. It could be the loss of a sense of the way things were, our previous modes of operating, which are a significant loss for people. But there's also an opportunity to tap into the best of your history, the best of your strengths and your experiences as a company or organization. And finally, this practice of leadership, whether using public narrative or not, can be an isolating exercise. Perhaps there are others, maybe not in your company or in your industry, people who you can rely on as confidants to help you, right, who might be having similar challenges and can help you to navigate through this crisis. This is, right, practicing walking the walk of moving from isolation into feeling like you are part of a collective of people who are trying to make progress against this challenge. So I would encourage you to reach out to others who might be facing similar challenges and see how you might practice your narrative with them.